What is up, everybody? I'm Luke, coming at you from beautiful Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and this is my deck tech for Sygg River Cutthroat, EDH. Sygg is a pretty awesome, sweet, low-profile commander. He doesn't attract a lot of attention. He doesn't piss a lot of people off. All he does is draw you a card at the end of every turn that an opponent lost 3 or more life. So that's pretty much all he does. There are some Sygg lists that are really aggressive with unblockable creatures or merfolk. This has a little bit of that, but it's a lot more counter control-y, which I've had to do because of my local meta. My play group has gotten kind of control-y, and this is a good way. So pretty much all you do is draw cards, counter spells aimed at you, and then steal stuff or copy it. And so without further ado, here we go. Oh, Sygg is Dimir colors, so he is black and blue. So this is the bruising control list. So if you like control lists that draw you a buttload of cards, this is going to be good for you. All right, mana base. It is 17 islands and 10 swamps. So customize it how you need to. This is how I decided to go, and it works just fine. So there's that. Dreadship Reef. I'm going to try and go through this pretty quickly because I don't believe in 30-minute deck techs. Dreadship Reef, it's a storage land. Dismal Backwater, gain a life, enters tapped. Tainted Isle, it's a dual land if you control a swamp. Otherwise, it taps for a colorless. Rogue's Passage, let your stuff become unblockable. Sunken Hollow, it is a Tango land or a battle land. Evolving Wilds, fetches a basic. Terramorphic Expand, fetches a basic. Buried Ruin, you can sack to return an artifact to your hand from your graveyard. That's pretty powerful and applicable. This has got a lot of equipment and a lot of artifacts. Command Tower, duh. It's, multicolor list, so should have one. Drowned Catacomb, the Buddy Lands. Urborg makes everything a swamp, including your opponent's lands. Reliquary Tower, this is important because you will be drawing all of the cards. Sometimes if people are playing ouchie hug decks where they draw cards and they draw everybody else cards, this will give you no maximum hand size, but sometimes you'll actually deck yourself, which is kind of funny. So that's the mana base. Let's go into the instants and sorceries. Ray of Commands, instant speed, take control of somebody else's stuff. So they try and attack you, you take one of their other creatures and you block with it to kill it, or, you do some other shenanigans. Counter Squall, counters a non-creature spell and costs the dude 2 life who tried to aim it at you. Capsize is a bounce spell that you can buy back for 3 colorless. That'll turn the tide of the game pretty easily for you if you can keep casting it. Arcane Denial. It's a way, way old counter spell that draws you a card next turn's upkeep and draws the person whose spell was countered 2 cards. Stolen Identity. It makes a token of any artifact or creature, and you can cipher it under a creature, so every time that creature deals damage, you get to make another token of something cool. So it's pretty awesome. Cyclonic Rift, it's a dickhead card, but everybody's playing it, so you got to do it too. Bounce something in non-land permanent for 1 in a blue, or overload it for 6 in a blue, and bounce everything that ain't yours. Counterspell, do what it says. Ether Spouts, put each attacking creature onto a top or bottom of their owner's library, and the owner gets to choose. Cancel, counter target spell. Perplex, counter target spell unless the controller of that spell discards his or her hand, and you can transmute it. I usually transmute it for an enchantment that draws me a buttload of cards. Otherwise, you can hold it into your hand and give your opponent a difficult decision. Propaganda. Now we're into the enchantments. Propaganda is the Ghostly Prison. The original Ghostly Prison, I'm told. So nobody can attack you unless they pay 2 colorless for each creature. This is the enchantment that I usually tutor for or transmute for Ristic Study. 2 and a blue enchantment. Whenever an opponent plays a spell, they can either pay 1 colorless additional, or you get to draw a card. This will draw you a shit ton of cards, and it's awesome. And you can even draw more cards with it if you've got the right artifacts. Painful Quandary. This is just a mean card. It's very mean, but fuck them, right? Whenever an opponent casts a spell, that player either loses 5 life or they discard a card. Things are getting spiky in my local meta, so gotta do it. This is this is part of the infinite combo that I have in here. I usually only have 1 infinite combo in each deck, except for my super aggro list, and these 2 are that infinite combo. Exquisite Blood gains you life whenever an opponent loses life, and Sanguine Bond loses an opponent life whenever you gain life. So it creates an infinite loop, and then you can drain anybody and everybody. So it kind of ends the game. Leyline of Anticipation, you can drop it as a pregame action if you have it in your opening hand. Otherwise, it gives it gives you flash. All your non-land cards get flash, so that's pretty cool. Levitation gives your creatures evasion, which is good because usually if they get in for damage, you draw cards or you get to cast spells or do other cool stuff. Steel Artifact does exactly what it says. Treachery. You control an enchanted creature and untap 5 lands. Clone. You copy a creature. Control Magic. You gain control of a creature. Now we're up to instants and sorceries, and by that I mean tutors. Demonic Tutor, get you anything. Diabolic Tutor, get you anything. Cruel Tutor, lose 2 life, get you anything. Now the creatures. Fog Bank, it's a good blocker. It doesn't deal or receive combat damage. Cryptghast, it doubles your swamps, or adds +1. So if you have your Urborg out, all your lands tap for 2, which is very, very good. This is a Japanese Chasm Skulker, 1/1, like a Hangerback Walker. Every time you draw a card, you put a +1/+1 counter on the Chasm Skulker, and then when you kill the Chasm Skulker, when he's destroyed, he breaks apart like a Hangerback Walker, and you get squid tokens equal to the number of counters on him. So it's always nice to have counters and tokens. Thassa is a god. She's fantastic. She becomes a 5/5 creature with indestructible if your devotion to blue is 5 or more, and you get to scry on your upkeep, and you get to pay 1 and a blue to make something unblockable this turn. Ashling the Extinguisher. When he deals combat damage to a player, you get to pick a creature that they control, and they have to sacrifice it. He's pretty badass. Sakashima Student. You can ninjutsu in for 1 and a blue, or you can legit cast him for 2 and 2 blue, and he enters as a copy of any creature on the field. Stays a ninja, though. Dimir Cutpurse. When he deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card, and you draw a card. Meringue River Prowler. Can't block and can't be blocked. And he can be cast from a graveyard as long as you control a black or green permanent. Green's not a problem for us, or not an option for us, so it's black. And he's a 2/1. Clever Impersonator comes onto the battlefield as any non-land permanence. This one is a Naga Wizard, spell stealer, spell something, I forget. It's in what looks like Korean or Japanese. Basically, you can morph it down for the morph cost of 3, and then you flip it up for 4 and 2 blue, and then you get to counter a spell that you like, and you get to cast that spell from exile. So basically, you counter the spell goes in exile, you get to play that spell from exile whenever you want, and then she's a 3/3. She's pretty badass. Dimir Doppelganger, exile target creature card from a graveyard, and this becomes a copy of that card and gains the ability so it can do it over again. Royal Assassin. The Royal Ass is a 1/1 that you can tap to destroy a creature, so it disincentivizes people from attacking you. Dimir Infiltrator, he's unblockable, and he also transmutes for 3, but he can only transmute for a 2-drop. So you can either tutor for a counter spell, or you can tutor for a demonic tutor, which I've done more than once, and then you grab your Rhystic Study or something else that you really need. Notion Thief. A lot of people in my play group play Rhystic Study if they play blue, and Almurt's Archive and other stuff that lets them draw extra cards. Notion Thief says if an opponent will draw a card except their first one, you get to draw that card instead of them, and it's flash. So the first time somebody's going to play a Rhystic Study, I'm going to flash this thing in on them, and I'm going to start drawing their cards, and it's going to be hilarious to watch them pissed off. So, Silent Blade Oni, these are some of the big fatties. Silent Blade Oni, you can ninjutsu in for 4 a blue and a black, or you can legit cast him for 3, 2 blue and 2 black. He's a 6/5, and when he deals combat damage to a player, you get to play a spell, a non-land card, without paying its mana cost. So he's freaking awesome. Rex and Effects. This is Rexel the Risen Deep. 3, a 2 blue and a black for a 5/8 Island Walk and Swamp Walk. And whenever Rex deals combat damage to a player, you get to play an instant or sorcery card out of that player's graveyard without paying its mana cost. And then if that spell resolves into a graveyard, then you exile it instead. He doesn't usually hang out very long because he's too good and high profile and people kill him. So he's also a potential decent commander, potentially. Very high profile, very big beat stick. So who knows? If you feel like it, go for it. Wormcoil Engine, 6/6 lifelink Death Touch. When he dies, becomes 2 tokens, 1 with lifelink, 1 with Death Touch. It's awesome. Fun to make copies and tokens of that. Psychosis Crawler. If you are drawing tons and tons of cards, this is the creature that you want to have. 5-drop, power and toughness is equal to the cards in your hand, and whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses a life. He's bananas. Only Planeswalkers, Tameo, the Moon Sage. 4 loyalty for 3 and 2 blue. You can +1 and sticky tap something, and -2, draw a card for each tapped creature that an opponent controls, and then you can -8. Her ultimate is you get an emblem with no maximum hand size, and whenever a card would be put in a graveyard from anywhere, you just put it back in your hand. So she's nuts. There's only one guy who's able in our playgroup to ultimate Tameo, and it's because he's really sneaky about it, and he's soft-spoken, and he just sort of ticks her up. All right, artifacts. Soul Ring is a mana rock. Thought Vessel, no maximum hand size, and a mana rock. Sapphire Medallion, your blue spells get cheaper by 1 colorless. Caged Sun, you cast it, you pick a color, which will normally be blue, and creatures you control get +1/+1 if they're that color, and lands tap for an extra color of that color. So islands tap for double. Keydrawn Archive, 4-drop artifact. It's a mana rock. You can tap for 2, or you can pay 2, tap it and sack it to draw 2 cards. Ventress Journal, 5-drop artifact. You have no maximum hand size, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you can gain a life for each card in your hand. This will get you tons and tons and tons of life. I've even had over 200 life at one point because of that card and another one. Elixir of Immortality helps you shuffle your graveyard into your library, so if you draw all your stuff and somehow somebody makes you discard all your hand, you can kind of get your library back up. Otherwise, you might consider putting in a Laboratory Maniac, because it's happened more than once that I've decked myself because somebody was playing Ouchie Hugs and kind of made us draw a whole crap load of cards. Protection, Crawl Space, no more than 2 creatures can attack you each combat. Expedition Map, fetches for a land. Usually it'll be your Urborg, your Buried Ruined, or your Reliquary Tower. Bident of Thassa, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you get to draw a card, and you can pay 1 and a blue and tap it, and creatures your opponents control attack this turn if able. I never use that part. Vidalcan Ori gives all your shit flash. Almurt's Archive is a 5-drop artifact. If you would gain life, gain double. If you would draw a card, draw 2 cards instead. So this is the thing that lets you draw all of the cards too. Swifty Boots, now we're getting into the equipment, gives your guy Hexproof and Haste. Whisper Silk Cloak gives your guy Unblockable and Haste, really good for Rexel and for Silent Blade Oni or Ashling the Extinguisher. Fire Shrieker deals double strike, so each one of those abilities goes off twice, and even better if you pair it with Quietus Spike, which gives a creature death touch, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player loses half his or her life rounded up. So that can bring games to very swift conclusions. It's wonderful. And the last one is Sword of Light and Shadow. 3-drop artifact, creature gets +2/+2 and pro white and black. And whenever the creature deals damage to a player, combat damage that is, you gain 3 life and you get to bring a target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. And that is Sygg. So basically you stay above the fray, watch your opponents try and kill each other, counter what comes at you, take what looks good, and then take control of the game in a control-y blue player fashion. Let me know if you have any questions, if there's anything that I'm missing. If you like the deck, feel free and subscribe, thumbs up, etc. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you're thinking. Until next time, draw well, play well, guys. Take care.